They're suing me for something I didn't do. It's just the most bullshit thing. And I literally had to pay them a lot of fucking money.
Jake Paul and Gervonta Davis
You know, they just decided to pull the plug.
Tab 3. Big news in boxing. Jake Paul is facing a lawsuit from Gervonta Tank Davis after Paul canceled their scheduled fight. Davis decided to take legal action. This isn't just about a fight. It's about pride, money, and reputations being tested, all unfolding in real time. What was expected to be one of the year's most exciting matchups has now turned into a complicated and messy situation. The highly anticipated bout between Jake Paul and Gervonta Davis, originally set for November 14th in Miami, has officially been called off. Fans had been buzzing for months, eager to see the YouTuber-turned-boxer face off against one of the sport's hardest hitters. Netflix had been involved. Millions of dollars were on the line, and the event promised to mix entertainment with high-stakes competition.
So that fight that was supposed to go down with Jake Paul and Gervonta Tank Davis in Miami on November 14th is not happening. It has been canceled.
Then everything fell apart. Promotional materials were ready, cameras were set, contracts were finalized, and just like that, the fight was called off. Jake Paul took to social media to explain his decision, framing it as a necessary and responsible choice.
Because you have someone that we come from two different sides, like, of the world. We still on the same path to get the same thing.
Jake didn't hold back in his statements. He harshly criticized Gervonta, alleging misconduct, and claimed that Netflix had withdrawn support for the event. He framed his decision around his company's values, emphasizing that he couldn't support the fight on ethical grounds. The way he presented it, the timing, the performance, and the messaging was clearly designed to cast himself as the principled party, stepping away from wrongdoing. For a brief moment, that narrative seemed to resonate.
One of the most feared punchers in the sport of boxing. He's got a 93% knockout percentage. That's one of the best among current world champions.
However, the initial praise quickly faded. The applause was soon replaced by murmurs that grew steadily louder. It began with whispers from those involved in the promotion, then escalated as members of Tank's team spoke out. And before long, experienced boxing insiders were weighing in. Recognizing the carefully staged narrative for what it was,
Gervonta Tank Davis team fights back. After Jake Paul canceled the fight, went on a tirade.
The narrative Jake Paul had carefully constructed quickly fell apart. Netflix had not called off the fight. According to Gervonta Davis's coach, Kenny Ellis, the matchup was still scheduled. Ellis didn't mince words. Jake got cold feet. Just like that, the story of moral high ground and heroism crumbled. What had been presented as a principled stand now looked more like fear disguised as virtue.
I never let myself go there. You know, I'm a fierce competitor.
Tank's team is now fighting back, and they're stating that Netflix did not, in fact, cancel the bout.
Whispers began circulating about weight issues. The contract required 195 pounds, but insiders said Jake was far from its sluggish, drained, and off his peak. The brash persona he had built his reputation on suddenly seemed exposed. Meanwhile, Davis was sharpening his skills, growing faster, leaner, and deadlier with every training session. As fight night drew closer, the writing seemed clear. Jake Paul might be walking into serious trouble. According to Kenny Ellis, Netflix hadn't pulled the plug, Jake did. Fear, not circumstance, ended the bout.
He has made a significant impact on the sport of boxing. He has certainly brought new eyes to the sport. He's done so much in uplifting women's boxing.
Questions started popping up among fans that hadn't been asked before. If this was really about ethics, why had Jake previously faced fighters with controversial pasts like Mike Tyson, who spent time in prison, or Mike Perry, with multiple allegations against him? Why was Davis suddenly treated as the breaking point, the one fight that crossed the line? It raised eyebrows and fueled skepticism about the real motives behind the cancellation.
They called Gervonta Davis the Tank for a reason. He only needs one shot to end the entire night. Stop. Davis, big straight left, down goes Gervonta.
Jake's image of taking the moral high ground started to crumble. Every social media post and public statement that had painted him as principled now looked more like a cover for fear. Fans began noticing the pattern. The speeches about standing up for others, the timed exit, the dramatic cancellation all pointed less to heroism and more to avoiding a fight he might not have been ready for. According to insiders like Ellis, the reality was clear. This wasn't about ethics. It was about retreating from a matchup he likely couldn't handle. Suddenly, the narrative Jake had carefully built began to unravel.
Jake fought a guy who was his age and was also considered a boxer, and he lost.
It just pisses me the fuck off. And then
you're good. Take a break.
By then, the stakes for Jake had grown much higher. He wasn't just fighting the usual entertainment-focused opponents. He was up against a legitimate world-class puncher, someone whose skills demanded respect. The carefully crafted PR story started to falter. What had been presented as a moral stand now looked increasingly like a strategic retreat. For a brief moment, it convinced the public. But as the details emerged, the narrative began to work against him.
Jake Paul took that and ran with it and then used it as a catalyst to stain Tank's name but not have to fight him.
Gervonta Davis is taking action. He has filed a lawsuit against Jake Paul, citing defamation and breach of contract. The suit alleges that Jake's statements and public claims caused significant harm to Davis's reputation and finances. According to the filing, what Jake presented as a moral decision was, in fact, intentional. If Davis's team can show that Netflix had not canceled the fight, Jake could face substantial financial consequences.
I believe that he was making the money he says he's making. Showtime Boxing wouldn't have gone out of business, and Showtime would have made sure they kept paying.
Coach Kenny Ellis didn't hold back. He claimed that Jake Paul's statements about defending women were more about protecting his image than taking a stand. According to Ellis, the moral narrative was a carefully crafted PR move. Supporting evidence, including past interviews and messages, suggests that Jake was anxious and unprepared, trying to find an exit from a fight he feared he couldn't handle.
What else to say? I didn't want to give this woman abuser a platform to grow his fans and to grow his bank account. My company champions women. I'm so sorry to everyone involved, mostly to the undercard fighters, to my team at MVP, and to my team who worked so hard.
Then came the Netflix angle. Observers noticed something important. Netflix never officially pulled out of the fight. There were no announcements or press releases, and the company's branding remained on promotional material days after Jake's post. This suggested that the streaming giant hadn't canceled the event at all. Tank Davis's team quickly pointed this out, showing that Jake had effectively used Netflix's name as a cover. The timeline made it clear Jake announced the cancellation first. While Netflix had not taken any action,
Ring Magazine. Jake Paul admits he's scared and losing sleep over a Gervonta Davis fight.
Critics are now pointing out inconsistencies in Jake Paul's reasoning. While he framed his decision as refusing to fight someone with a controversial history, he has previously competed against fighters with their own past issues, like Tyson and Perry. Observers suggest the cancellation coincided conveniently with the realization that Davis posed a serious challenge. According to Davis's camp, Paul was fully aware of their fighter's history when the contract was signed, making the timing of his moral objections appear strategic rather than genuine.
Jake Paul, the contracted weight is 195 pounds. I bet if he were to get on a scale today that he's nowhere near the fight weight. It's so many games being played.
Jake Paul, known for his larger-than-life persona and ability to turn fights into major spectacles, suddenly framed himself as the moral authority when facing Gervonta Davis. He has built his career on hype, bravado, and promotion, turning every challenge into entertainment. But against a highly skilled knockout artist like Davis, Paul positioned his withdrawal as a principled choice. Observers see this as a strategic pivot. When the fight became risky, the narrative shifted. What was presented as courage and ethics could also be interpreted as a tactical retreat, highlighting how carefully constructed exits are rarely seen as heroic under scrutiny.
Pull the fight, so don't blame Gervonta Davis accusations. Jake Paul has a far worse track record. Jake Paul backed out.
Boxing analyst Ego offered a no-nonsense perspective. If the sport excluded every fighter with a past mistake, there wouldn't be many left standing. Boxing has never been about perfection. It's about resilience. Champions like Mike Tyson, Julio Cesar Chavez, Andre Ward, and Floyd Mayweather didn't rise because of flawless records or spotless reputations. They rose through struggle, adversity, and tough choices. In the ring, skill and heart matter more than morality. But outside it, in the courtroom, the rules are entirely different.
It was Jake Paul who found a scapegoat kind of and an exit strategy and got to move.
Jake's sudden display of moral principles seemed oddly out of step with the sport. Boxing thrives on grit, sweat, and raw determination, not staged theatrics. To fans and fellow fighters alike, it was clear that the performance didn't match the reality in the ring.
He's paying the beater.
Oh shit, you're right.
Jake Paul thrives in the spotlight, but the ring doesn't care about theatrics. True fighters meet challenges directly. They don't deliver speeches about contracts or craft moral exits. Now, faced with a real threat, Jake's online persona can't protect him from the consequences.
That's the thing. It's Jake, it's consensual. Two consensual parties,
Well,
two
you didn't
women.
say that word.
No, I'm saying it's consensual. I'm saying these two women
So
came
he
together.
paid women to beat on each other.
Brands that once embraced Jake Paul are now weighing their exposure. The image of the fearless, untouchable figure is fading. Jake may have avoided punches in the ring, but this is a different arena one, with no referee or cheering crowd. Here, it's all legal briefs, contracts, evidence, and the relentless glare of reality. If the court rules in favor of Davis, the financial consequences could be enormous. Even more damaging, however, is the blow to reputation. The persona of fearless bravado holds no weight under oath. What once seemed courage now appears carefully constructed, stripped down to reveal the fear beneath. The real question isn't whether Jake misled people, it's why. Was it about principle or simply fear? Fear of losing, fear of exposure, fear of facing a legitimate threat capable of dismantling the image he has worked to craft.